Okay, here we go. Good evening. Welcome to the Cambridge Community Candidate Forum for the upcoming City Council elections on October 17th. I'm Glenna Heckathorn, co-chair of the League of Women Voters Midshore, and I'll be your moderator. Special thanks goes to WHCP radio station, the Cambridge Community Radio, for the use of their studios and handling of the technical logistics on tonight's broadcast. WHCP is one of the collaborating sponsors of the Cambridge Community Conversations, along with the Cambridge Association of Neighborhoods, the Dorchester Chamber of Commerce, the Dorchester Banner, and the Dorchester Star. Here is how we will proceed tonight. We have 6 candidates from wards 1 and 3. Next Wednesday night, we will hold a forum for candidates from wards 2, 4, and for the candidates who are running for the Cambridge City Mayor. We're going to ask the candidates from each wards to reply together, but we will rotate the wards and the responses from candidates within each ward so that it's equitable about who goes first and who goes last. Don't worry, they each have a plan, so they know who's up next. All 6 candidates who filed for office were invited to attend the forum, and all 6 agreed to participate here tonight. Tonight's forum has 3 segments. The opening statements are 2 minutes each. A Q&A period follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to our questions. And at the end, they will offer closing statements for 1.5 minutes. We're keeping time with a digital timer that's displayed on the candidate screen and that will show them the amount of time remaining for their remarks. We solicited these questions from the public in advance of the forum, and we'll begin with those. However, we invite the audience to submit additional questions to the candidates during the forum by opening the chat feature on your video feed and typing in your question. We have a team of question reviewers who will pass them on to me, and I will ask as many as time allows. So right now, I would like to introduce the candidates. I will tell you who they are. And our first candidate for opening statements is Tom Bradley. Also running in Ward 1 is Brian Roche and Sharon Smith. Running in Ward 3, Duane Farrow and Gary Gordy and Jameson Harrington. So let's begin with Tom Brady, who will give his 2-minute opening remarks.
Hi, good evening, Cambridge. My name's Tom Bradley. I'm running for District 1, Cambridge. I'd first off like to start by thanking Glenna from the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event and allowing the community to meet the candidates. A little bit about myself. I'm 49 years old. I've been married for 16 years to a very lovely wife. We have 4 fantastic kids and 2 dogs. I went here locally to Cambridge South Dorchester, from which I graduated in 1989. And from there, I went on to Chesapeake College. From Chesapeake, I went straight into the workforce. And that's where I learned how to run a business from the ground up. It's those business skills that I intend to bring to council and help Cambridge with the keep moving forward, because Cambridge is a city in transition when it requires leadership with business experience and community involvement. In addition to running 2 successful businesses, I'm the vice president of the local Rotary Club. And with your help, we can reduce property taxes and put some money back into the taxpayers' pockets. I will not retain any of my salary as commissioner for Cambridge, and I challenge my fellow elected officials to follow suit. This would give a good injection back into the local economy, which I would, with my salary, I will donate generously to the church organizations and local charitable events. So it is my desire, with your vote, I would be honored to serve my district and its citizens with the utmost dignity, professionalism, and honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Next up, we have Brian Roche, also from Ward 1.
Thank you. My name is Brian Roach, and I'm running for the position of Ward 1 council member. My position will be just one of 5 votes on city council, so it needs to be filled with someone that has proven they can find common ground with 4 other council members, the mayor, the state and federal government, citizen advocates, nonprofits, and businesses, so that every decision is for the good for both Ward 1 and for all the citizens of Cambridge. Over the last 15 years, I've had success in accomplishing a number of goals of our citizen-driven comprehensive plan in my role as a community leader of nonprofit and municipal boards and as citizen advocate. I've proven that I'm a capable, accomplished leader that has helped build streets, parking lots, restore buildings, bike lanes, and racks, build a citywide fiber network, among other things, without being in elected office. So now I'm prepared to take the next step, which is to be elected to city leadership. The council I serve on will be transparent, financially responsible, accessible, and accountable, even in our new world of virtual meetings and remote engagement. It would be an honor to represent the citizens of Ward 1 and Cambridge and to leverage my experience to accomplish improved and affordable housing in all of our neighborhoods, safer streets, better sidewalks, a vibrant business environment, and to see the plans for Pine Street, Salewinds, the Packing House, Maces Lane Community Center, and Cannery Park to the finish line, and the marina, which is in Ward 1 but belongs to all of us. I will celebrate and embrace our unique history, our unique story, our culture, and our niche economy. I will advocate for and cultivate the ambitious citizens, businesses, and organizations that have been and are working towards these goals. To learn more about me and my plans for the city and my background, please visit my website at togetherwethrivecambridge.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, last up for Ward 1 is Sharon Smith.
Thank you. When I moved to Cambridge 11 years ago, I was excited by the possibilities. I'm a sailboater, and we have this huge waterfront that's close to the bay. We have this marina at our fingertips. We have lovely old homes in the historic district and other places throughout the city, and we have a rich maritime heritage. The Hyatt had been here for several years, and there was more business coming into downtown. There were shops opening up. There were restaurants opening up. And I thought I was getting in on the ground floor of a town that was about to turn the corner and flourish. Well, it's 11 years later, and I don't think very much has changed. The responsibility for growth of the city or lack of growth rests with the city council. We need to change the way the city council operates. And I have experience as a manager and many years experience as a management consultant that I think I can help bring that change about. Our city council has no sense of urgency. They let things come to them. They're not proactive, they're reactive. They spend their time managing city operations, but that's what we have a city manager for. The council should be leading the city to reach its full potential, not micromanaging it. It's obvious that the council members and the mayor don't have a shared vision of where the city should go. That's one of the reasons why you have the divisiveness on the council and why you have so many 3-2 split votes, is that there's a lack of agreement on where the city should be heading and how it should get there. This fundamental agreement becomes the foundation for all the decision-making that follows. And I have experience and knowledge to help make that happen. So I'm asking for your vote on October 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Sharon Smith. Now, Duane Farrow from Ward 3 will give his introductory remarks.
Hi, everybody out there. I am Duane Farrow. I'm looking to the camera here. Born and bred here in Cambridge, Maryland. I'm indigenous to what they call Groove City. Okay. I attended and graduated Cambridge South Dorchester High School. From there, went to attend Bowie, went into the military. So I am a veteran. After the military, I went to Bowie State University. studied communications, have a BS in communications, broadcast technology to be exact. And from there, I worked radio, Washington, D.C., Radio 1, 4th and 8th Street. Started off with Kathy Hughes. From that point, that took me to Philadelphia working radio and transitioned from radio into record promotions. So I worked for Capitol Records for a few years, started a promotions and marketing company. And during that time, made a little bit of money, came back home. So I'm back here in Cambridge. Why am I running for office? Well, the progression of Cambridge, Maryland. I want to move it forward. A lot of people are talking about moving Cambridge forward. What can I bring to the table? I actually get along with people and I know how to communicate. I can tell you now, the candidates that are running, all of them are very qualified. And I get along with all of them. No matter who gets in, whether it's me or whether it's them, we can work together. I can tell you that much now because we all have a respect for each other. If you don't want to move Cambridge forward, I'm not the candidate for you. I got a little bit of city life in me. So I don't know if you're ready to move as fast as I'm ready to move, but I want to push Cambridge forward. We have a lot to do in my ward. A lot of people don't even know what wards they actually reside in. Not to get into details because I don't have enough time, but anywhere downtown, Pine Street, West End, you're pretty much in the 3rd ward. So I'm asking for your vote. If you go out there October the 17th, vote for Duane Farrow. We can push Cambridge forward.
Thank you very much to Duane Farrow. Next up is Gary Gordy, also from Ward 3.
Yes, it's Gary Gordy. I've been born and raised in Cambridge, Maryland. I'm 45 for the last past, basically 45 years. I've been in Ward 3 for the last 40 years. So I know everything that's going on in Ward 3. That's the ward that I'm running for. I'm also a truck driver and also a business owner. I actually just started another business. I just did an LLC yesterday. And I want to see a lot of other people in Ward 3 start their own businesses. I want to see kids start investing. I want to see kids to start working early. I would like to bring back the child workforce that happened when I was little, where the city paid the kids to cut grass, sweep the streets, and paint the streets and all that type of stuff. I also would like to see the kids to have summer programs like it was when I was younger. Going summer trips. You know, we have to figure out what we're going to do for as the kids. The kids are the most important thing to our future. Our future is the kids. There's a lot of kids that's getting in trouble because why? It's nothing for them to do. And we have to find something for the kids to do. My objective is educate, teach, so they can learn how to be respectful adults. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Gary Gordy. Now we have Jameson Harrington, who is our 3rd candidate from Ward 3.
Hi, I'm Jameson Harrington. I'm running for Ward 3. As I've lived in Cambridge over the past 6 years, I've watched it grow despite the town council and our elected politicians. I think we need some change here. It's time for us to stop being held back. While I'm not a politician or a great public speaker, what I am is a great listener and a problem solver, and I work well with others. So I'd like to bring Cambridge forward. So when it comes to voting, October 17th, if you vote for me, that's great. If you vote for the 2 other fellows, that's fine too, as long as you vote. Thank you.
Our first question now, and we are going to have the Ward 3 candidates answer questions first, and Gary Gordy will be our first responder. So the first question is, what is the biggest challenge that your ward faces now, and what do you think can be done to fix it?
The biggest challenge is housing. That is the biggest challenge. I went back and listening to Gloria Richardson speech, and she called them chicken houses. And this was way back in 1967. And it is still same chicken houses that's right there right today. I would love to see, I travel a lot. So when I travel, I see upcoming cities. I lived in Wilmington. I've been in Wilmington. That's where my mom and my kids are at in Wilmington. And I seen them tear a whole neighborhood down and bring it back up less than a year. So if they can do it, if Middletown can do it, if all these other cities can do it, why can't Cambridge do it? Everybody's growing around besides Cambridge. So that's what I want to see.
Thank you very much. Now, Jameson Harrington from Ward 3 will respond to the same question. What is the biggest challenge that your ward faces now, and what can be done to fix it?
I actually have to agree with Mr. Gordy. It's housing is a huge issue in Ward 3. One of the things I'd like to encourage is actual home ownership and get people out of rentals. The state of Maryland has a lot of great programs to help people own their own homes or improve their existing homes. There's also Habitat for Humanity and other programs like that that we can bring in and encourage home ownership. Thank you.
And then finally, from Ward 3, we have Duane Farrow, who will address the same question.
It goes across the board. Housing is the biggest issue in Ward 3. Another problem I've heard, it was the landlords. We have sub-poor housing conditions and high rents for Cambridge, Maryland, astronomical rents for Cambridge, Maryland for the housing that they're living in. So that has to change. I am a homeowner. I stay on Pine Street, and Pine Street is a big part of Cambridge historically and to the growth of Cambridge. So I definitely want to work on rehabbing Pine Street. My property value, so you don't have no discrepancies of what I'm running for. I want to raise my property value. That comes with housing. And if I can bring in housing, businesses, jobs, and raise my property value, yes, that's a personal interest. That's what I'm trying to do. So we definitely have a housing issue that we're going to tackle, and also trying to better Pine Street and some more places in the other wards that we want to work on the housing here. So that's a major issue right there.
Thank you very much. That was Duane Farrow from Ward 3. Now we'll turn to Ward 1, Brian Roche.
I would say in Ward 1, the problems are similar, but more specifically, I think that the streets are not safe. And when I say not safe, we need streets to be safe for everyone. If we build a city where it's comfortable for people to move around to meet their basic needs, it makes the city a more desirable place to live. If you stand on Locust, Glasgow, Leonard's, Academy Street for 15 minutes, you'll see why housing is suffering along these stretches. We need families to invest their homes and community in Cambridge. If we can't let our children, pets, or elderly loved ones outside for fear of getting run over by a vehicle, we won't see families planting their investments in Cambridge. Further, the 1969 housing report identified many of these same issues, but the cause was lack of investment, so we have to tackle that problem. And finally, sidewalk maintenance is another issue and can be tackled with proper budgeting. So, thank you.
With Brian Roche, and now we'll hear from Sharon Smith.
Thank you. I believe that we have some housing challenges in Ward 1 as well. The blight study that was completed a few years ago found that there was blight in all 5 wards. We do have the historic district in Ward 1, and I think that's a real asset to the committee. And even there are challenges in encouraging people to maintain their property in a manner that attracts visitors and makes people want to live here. So I think we have some similar problems. As Brian mentioned, we have some major sidewalk problems, not so much in the way of street maintenance, but we've got sidewalks that have grass growing up through them or have overgrown them and they're not sidewalks anymore. So that's another problem that we need to address. But our housing problems pale in comparison to some of the other wards, and I think we need to put major emphasis on that.
Thank you very much. That was Sharon Smith. And now we'll hear from Tom Bradley.
All right. Could I get the question again?
Yes. What is the biggest challenge that your particular ward faces now, and what can be done to fix it?
Thank you. Well, I'm on the street a lot, and I talk to a lot of people. And Ward 1 is a little bit isolated. And I'm hearing that the property taxes are really high in Ward 1. Now, I agree with my fellow other candidates that we do have housing issues across the board, but as far as Ward 1, the neighbors and people are telling me that the property taxes are really high over there. They're paying a lot of money. One person's paying as much as $7,000 a year in property taxes, and we don't feel like we're getting the value of the $7,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are going to go to question 2, and we will turn to Ward 1. Our first respondent is Sharon Smith, and here's your question. Will you support the current council manager form of government? If so, why? If not, why not?
You're referring to the city manager
Correct.
and city council mayor form of government?
Yes.
Yes, I do support it. And you heard me say in my opening remarks that we need somebody who's full-time, 100% running the daily operations of the city, and that's the job of the city manager. The city council should not be concerning itself with such tactical issues. It should be out front leading the city forward, which is something that's not happening right now. So I support the city manager form of government.
Thank you very much, Sharon Smith. Tom Bradley is now going to respond to that question.
I'm going to have to ask for the question again.
Okay,
Glenna.
the first question is, will you support the current city council manager form of government?
Thank you.
If so, why?
Well, I support the way it's written. And we do need someone to manage the city. If it's not going to be the mayor, then we have to hire someone to do that job. And I think that's what the previous administration has done. But so that leaves us to the question of why do we still have a mayor if, they're not really doing a whole lot. So we need to explore that too. Thank you.
Tom Bradley. Brian Roche from Ward 3 is the last respondent from the ward to that.
Thank you. I support the city manager form of government 1,000%. I think it's a huge improvement over prior operations, and I believe that this position should actually serve as it is intended. One, strategic plan or comprehensive plan sits for what the direction of the city should be. The council should serve similar to a board of directors does in any organization and set policy and goals for the year, budgets, and actually work with the city manager to be the executive that they've designed to be. That means the city manager is freed up to run the business of the city, to actually manage personnel decisions and empower personnel, meaning the day-to-day operations, to do their job without meddling of council people. And so I do support the existing framework. I do think that the council, part of our role is to actually further empower that role so that the city can run better and more efficiently in its current form. Thank you.
And Roche, now from Ward 3, Jameson Harrington.
I also support the current format. The council can serve as a conduit to give the people a voice, the citizens a voice, and I think that's what they should be doing. Thank you.
And following Jameson Harrington is Duane Farrow.
Do I support the city manager? I support whatever is working. Very seriously doubt how many people know what the job of the city manager is. I remember when they introduced him at the Cultural Fest, which I was a part of the committee to put that together. And we brought him on stage to introduce him to the town of Cambridge. I met the guy a few times, and nice guy, Pat Kaminsky, am I correct? But will I support that form of government? If it's working, let it work. If it's not working, we can come together to come up with another consensus to run this city. But anything that's working to move it forward, I'm for.
Very much. And the final candidate from Ward 3, Gary Gordy.
Well, do I support it? To support it. Yes, I support it. As long as the right person that's in there. And what I see right now, I don't see no changes happening in Cambridge. So that's something that I would like to work on, talk to whoever we have to talk to and try to fix it. But right now, yes, I support it, but I don't. It have to be somebody that know what they're doing, I believe.
Much. Our third question will begin with Tom Bradley from Ward 1 is, what are your best ideas for the use of the Dorchester Hospital Cambridge Waterfront Development property?
What are our best uses? Well, I've heard a few ideas that have been bounced around, and I think that we're on the right track. The master plan was to have was it a senior living home, maybe an extension of Roche, some type of a restaurant, a green space, and to expand the yacht maintenance. I mean, it all sounds lovely to me. So I'm on board with where we're headed right now, as far as that area, the hospital area. I think it's a very valuable. It's the first thing you see when you come across the bridge. I mean, so there's a lot of opportunity there for us to make some revenue for Cambridge. And that's what we need to do.
Brian Roche?
With regards to the Salewinds property, there was a predecessor to the Salewinds plan called the Waterfront 2020. The Waterfront 2020 was developed with tremendous citizen input years ago. Hundreds and the represented a cross section of the entire city of Cambridge on what they wanted to see at that property. Priority one is it is a welcome mat to the city of Cambridge, so it has to be a shining example of what this city represents as people come across the bridge. Part two is that any successful place needs to be a multitude of uses. It can't be just a single use location where there's one event like a convention center and nothing is happening there afterwards. That concept has failed, and that is not what the citizens of this city wanted. The citizens wanted public access to the waterfront. They wanted maritime commercial, embrace our comparative strengths. It used to be a port. Look into that in terms of like just not reinvent it as a current space. So a brewery on the waterfront, anything that generates activity and actually follows the plans that the community wanted for that site is important.
Sharon Smith?
Hi. If you go to my website, sharonsmithforward1.com, you'll see an extensive discussion about what I think they should be doing with the Salewinds and the hospital property. And it's consistent with the Waterfront 2020 charrette that occurred a number of years ago. I think that use should be very nautically focused. It should be taking advantage of the waterfront. Frankly, I don't see where putting in a nursing home is consistent with what the people have said they want to have happen there. I think there should be nautically themed activities. Richardson Maritime Museum could be a springboard into a really nice tourist development and to bring tourists in. I think the city needs to work more closely with the museum and help it develop more quickly so that that can be a drawing card to bring more visitors into the area. Thank you.
Thank you. And now from Ward 3, we have Duane Farrow.
Once again, there's no question what I want to do with the waterfront. I said this 3 years ago. When we brought Pat Kaminsky on for the Culture Fest, and I introduced him to the crowd. This is the man. If you want to take that hospital down and put a casino up there and make some money in Cambridge, this is the man that can facilitate that. That's what I said, and I stand by it. Now, everybody's not into a casino. I understand that, but that's just my lifestyle, like rolling dice. But what I want to see with the waterfront, I do not want to see a retirement home. I do not want to see any nursing home. We're trying to move forward. We got plenty of land for that. Paddle boats, jet ski rentals, shops, restaurants. We can stop all that traffic going towards Ocean City to make a right turn into Cambridge to Salewinds and enjoy Cambridge. That's what we're trying to do, bring revenue in here. When I took my daughter to the little beach at Chop Tank River right there at Salewinds, she thinks she's in Ocean City. She loves it. You understand? We need to take advantage of that. We definitely need more activities here. We need to change that waterfront into my time. I'm sorry. You see where I'm going with it?
Now we'll have Gary Gordy answering the same question.
And just took everything out my mouth. We talk about money, generating money. What's the best way to generate money? Entertainment. Everybody loves entertainment. If it's no more than a casino, if it's no more than jet skis, have fun. Make Cambridge not just a place where historical stuff is happening, where people from out of town, because they come in, come through and everything like that. Make it for the whole city of Cambridge and have people come here where people can talk about it. We had a place, Pine Street, called Groove City. That's where it actually started from, Groove City on Pine Street back in the 60s. So we had fun. It was so much fun. And that's what Cambridge is about, is having fun. So any nursing homes, any property, we can't afford none of that stuff. We got property out on 16. Put a nursing home out on 16. There's a lot of places you could put nursing homes and stuff like that. Put, like Duane said, jet skis, have something where we can have fun. That's it.
Thank you. And now we have Jameson Harrington.
So the hospital property in the Salem area is a beautiful waterfront area, and it can be used to attract people to Cambridge. I agree. The retirement home idea, that's horrible. Go to Talbot County for that. But it also needs to accentuate downtown. I don't want it to detract from downtown. If you put a bunch of retail down there at the waterfront, how's it going to affect the businesses that have existed here already? So it's something we'd have to look closely at. And it's something that's going to be there for a while. So maybe it's something the citizens can give their input on as well. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to question 4, and Gary Gordy is going to be our first respondent. And our question is, poor housing in Cambridge has been repeatedly identified as a major problem. How should the council address it? And I guess I'd also like you to address a corollary, and that is there's an ordinance 995 that calls for mandatory rental inspections, and I'm not sure that they've really ever been carried out.
No. Far as the housing, I think that the landlords, the city should have a cap on rent, because go by the property value of your house, first of all, because people that live in them houses, they can't afford them. A lot of people that live in the 3rd ward, they struggle with the rent. The next thing you know, the landlord's ready to put them out. I think that it should be mandated that it should be inspection before they move, the tenant move in the house, during, while the tenant's in the house, and after the tenants move out the house. That should be done, and it should be mandated just in that order.
Thank you very much. Jameson Harrington from Ward 3 will address the same question.
Could you repeat the corollary
Sure.
question?
Poor housing in Cambridge has been repeatedly identified as a major problem. How should the council address it? And also, I'm interested in this ordinance 995 that calls for mandatory rental inspections.
So I bought my first house in Cambridge June of last year after renting for almost 5-6 years. And rentals are a pain in Cambridge. But the problem is people don't know how to pursue home ownership. It's difficult if you're a first-time home buyer. And there's resources out there for people, but maybe the council could look into establishing something to help people find those resources and connect them to those resources. As for the mandatory inspections, it's a good one. I have no experience with that, and I'm not sure how I feel about mandatory inspections. It's something I'd have to look into further. Thank you.
Okay. And the last candidate from Ward 3 is Duane Farrow. We'll address the same question.
There's a lot to tackle on this question right here, so I'll try to talk fast. For the ordinance 995, I am for that. Didn't get a lot of the information on this housing until I started running for election, and other council members that are seated now and other people that are running for election. We had a big problem with Bradford House. They had subpar conditions in there. That's where ordinance 995 came, where they repealed that to mandate the 3 inspections per year. I'm for bringing that back. That's one change we can do. I don't understand why the former council took that out before. With the housing, poor housing, it goes 2 ways. I've been on both sides, landlord and tenant. You have people that make deals out there where I don't have much money. I need a place to stay, so I'll give you $300 a month. And the landlord said, I'll take it, but you got to take it as is. Then when they don't pay the rent, they feel some type of way, and it's a battle between the two. It's a lot to go on with that housing that I don't have enough time to talk about, but I would love to delve into it.
Thank you so much. Okay. We'll turn now to Ward 1. Yes. Poor housing in Cambridge has been repeatedly identified as a major problem. How should the council address it? And specifically, would you prioritize Ordinance 995 that calls for mandatory rental inspections?
Thank you. First off, I just want to enable investors. We need to incentivize investors to invest in homes and homeowners for building and maintaining better quality housing while implementing barriers for neglect. In terms of the ordinance, I think a voluntary inspection program for landlords providing them a discount on their registration if they permit inspections would be in order. It would be entirely voluntary, so there wouldn't be any complaints. Quickly, we would determine that the good property owners would let their properties be inspected. The money they save can be reinvested back in their properties to make them better. It basically raises the cost for neglect. In terms of quality of housing, there's a inclusionary zoning, which is a formula for allowing for affordable housing within mixed developments. Things like single-use affordable housing don't work. They've been removed in other cities. The Bradford House is a prime example. It's really expensive to maintain and housing suffers. A vacant building tax and a land bank to reclaim properties that have fallen off the tax rolls and control them going back in a orderly fashion so that their outcome is controlled. And then actually one final thing is subject both contractors and property owners to fines. No more asking for forgiveness after the fact, but make sure you're incentivizing and making the process easier for people to comply. Thank you.
And Sharon Smith from Ward 1.
Yes, thank you. Again, I have a lot of information about housing and what should be done at my website. Essentially, I think most of the blighted housing comes from landlords, although there are some other property owners that aren't maintaining their properties. But there's essentially 3 problems that we have with blighted housing. The first is that people are ignoring the maintenance codes and the building codes and just doing what they want. And they can get away with that because number 2 is we constantly understaff our code enforcement, and we need to increase our code enforcement, and we need to increase collecting on the citations that are outstanding. I don't know, last fall there were 1,760 outstanding citations. At $100 a piece, that's $176,000 the city is owed. And the third thing is the receivership, which is called a land bank, where the city takes over dilapidated properties, fixes them up, sells them, and then can go buy another one and fix it up and sell it and so forth. Thank you
so much. And finally, from Ward 1, we have Tom Bradley.
Yes, I don't know if anybody disagrees that a family with kids or just a single person should have a house that's up to code and, maybe even above code. The solution, well, I do have some rental properties and I'm on top of mine, but we do have what you call we call them absentee landlords. They're not here. And I don't know what the solution is. I'm for inspections if that's will help. I'm for anything to improve Cambridge and the families and the kids, Tom Bradley will vote yes for it. Anything to move us forward and keep us going forward, I'm your guy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we will turn to question 5. The question is, how can the city and the county partner to improve the economic and job opportunities for local residents? And our first respondent is Sharon Smith from Ward 1.
Thank you. I think that there's been increased cooperation on economic development between the city and the county in the last 2 years, and I think that's a good thing. I think that the city, in reducing its economic development staff from 2 people, which wasn't enough, to now only 1 person, is not the way to go. And I think that the city commissioners and the mayors should be involved in economic development. Who better to represent the assets of the city to a potential new business than one of the city leaders? Cambridge is the largest city in the county. It has most of the population, so I think it's really the sweet spot for the economic development. The Salewinds property that we just spoke about is our greatest economic development opportunity. I know from recent information that there are some things afoot there that the CWD is working on, but I'm not sure we're going to like everything they come up with.
Thank you very much. Now Tom Bradley will answer the same question.
Thank you. Could I get the question?
Yes. How can the city and the county partner to improve the economic and job opportunities for local residents?
That's a great question. I mean, to my knowledge, we have economic development in the county. I believe Cambridge has an economic development. We have downtown Cambridge. I mean, there are agencies and systems in place currently that I feel like are getting the job done. But we just need to get behind them, be some more supportive, open up Cambridge for business, maybe just be friendly to businesses and let the rest of the state, if not the nation, know that, hey, Cambridge is here. Come, let's all thrive together. Thank you.
Yes, we have Brian Roche from Ward 1, who is going to answer the same question.
I think that Cambridge has the unique position of being the primary financial resource for the county, and the county should respect that. I think a thorough financial analysis of both what the city pays for and the county pays for is long overdue. Make sure there's no duplication of efforts. I also think that the county is starting to do a great job just having a strong relationship with city leadership. Part of that is taxes, but part of that is just procedural things like the tax bills going out from the county. The receivership and the land banking system would be heavily dependent on county involvement. I also think the Hyatt is a classic example of where the city and county need to work together, roll out the red carpet, look at the amount of money that's coming in from organizations like that and will come in from things like Salewinds, and make sure that we are reinvesting those back into the community so that we continue to grow and add jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. And now from Ward 3, Jameson Harrington will answer the question.
So we have the land, we have the workforce. What we need is to attract more businesses that want to relocate here or start here. And I think the city and the county can work together on that to bring those people here. Thank you.
Thank you. Duane Farrow from Ward 3.
Okay, ask yourself a question. Would I invest in Cambridge, Maryland? We want to solicit companies to come here and invest in our town. That's the first question you have to ask. Why would I invest in Cambridge? I think the county and the city works together well. We have to get people up off their buns to go get jobs, because if we don't have people that's working that have jobs, we can't solicit businesses to come to this city and invest, because they're not seeing any money and any potential in Cambridge, Maryland. So we have to solicit corporations to come here and invest in Cambridge. Best way to do that is tax breaks. Don't turn down anything. Put your collar up. Don't turn down $1. If someone wants to come to Cambridge and invest, work with them, cut them some tax breaks for these corporations to bring that business into Cambridge so we can create jobs and bring economic development to Cambridge, Maryland. That's my answer.
Thank you very much. And the final respondent from Ward 3 is Gary Gordy.
Jobs. About 10 years ago, I had I did a youth conference that the mayor wanted to sponsor, and I had to ask the question, what kind of jobs are coming to Cambridge? And I remember this, and they say no more manufacturer type jobs. Well, the people here, there's some people here, I ain't gonna say everybody, but is not educated to work on corporate levels. So some type of jobs that we have to develop jobs to actually fit the people needs. And there's jobs like Walmart, like Lowe's, Home Depot, Targets, stuff like that. Bring stuff like that here. And we can have one big manufacturer type job. Why not? Because they keep saying, bring in, we need money, revenue. Well, that's the only way we can get revenue, because they have to go around like the Black Wall Street and back in the 20s. So if it can keep going around in the cities and the city and Cambridge, we all can be okay. So let's just bring it into jobs. That's it.
Thank you very much. Question number 6. Brian Roche will address that first. And the question is, currently, the city of Cambridge has no position dedicated to applying for grant money. Should the city have such a position? And if so, what are the top grant priorities?
The answer is that is a very valuable position. And to make it go back to the idea of the county versus city collaboration, that is something that typically for grants, you have to have a number of partners. I do also know that a number of nonprofits come to the city with grant ideas. I've been one of them. And more important is that the city just continue to partner and to provide the matches of public funds and things that are required in most of these initiatives. A grant writer is a huge advantage, and if it can support itself and be paid for, I think it's a very good idea. But again, we don't want to duplicate it if we can just support and enhance the current efforts of grant writing, of which we do get many grants in this city already through nonprofits and others. So,
Thank you. Next up is Sharon Smith.
Thank you. My understanding is most of the grant writing that occurs in the city right now is done either out of the Economic Development Department or out of city planning. Both of those functions are very thinly staffed, and I'm sure that we missed some grant opportunities because we simply don't have the resources to sit down and write a grant application. I think it's quite possible that a grant writer position would pay for itself by increasing the amount of grant money we get. We get a lot of community development block grants. That's one of the biggest sources, and we seem to be successful at getting those. Right now, we're getting a lot of grants from the State Department of Housing and Community Development. The secretary there is very fond of Cambridge, and so we're lucky to have that relationship with him. So I think that there's a good chance that a grant writing position would pay for itself. Thank you.
Next up from Ward 1 is Tom Bradley.
Look at the question.
Sure. Currently, the city of Cambridge has no position dedicated to applying for grant money. Should it? And if so, what are the top grant priorities?
Well, obviously, we need someone writing grants. There's money out there. Cambridge should just get all the money that we can get if it's available. It's our tax dollars that we pay in. So it's not like it's free money. It's money that we've already put in, and we should get some of that back, like the other cities and counties and states are doing. So yes, I'm absolutely 100% for having a grant writer position. Thank you.
Now from Ward 3, Duane Farrow.
That's crazy. How you not have a grant writer position? That's that's free money that you're trying to bring into the city. That should be the priority number one. I'm challenging every council member here or everybody running for council to take grant writing classes, because that's one thing I'm gonna do, and write a grant for their ward to get it started. As far as a position for grant writing, of course we need one. We got money in the budget. You can shuffle some dollars around and make a position for a grant writer. There's something that's needed because the grants is free money and we need that. So I don't understand why we don't have anybody on in that position now. Definitely we need a grant writer, and we also need to be able to write grants.
Very much. And next up to answer that same question is Gary Gordy.
Of course. We do need grant writers, one, maybe two. You know, try to get all the money that we can get. It's our money. Like the candidate just said, it's our money. Why can't we just write grants? I remembered when I was with helping out with the Pond Street Committee and with Mr. Adavine Sanders, and we bust our tails to get grants. We bust our tails to help out with the block grants. We even like the little plats and stuff they got on Pond Street. I helped out with that. And it all come from grants, even though one of them supposed to be 12 feet long, but they desized it. But yes, I agree with somebody that can write the grants.
Thank you very much. And our final respondent is Jameson Harrington from Ward 3.
I absolutely support a grant writer for the city of Cambridge. In my day-to-day job, I work with a grant writer, and watching them acquire funds for small towns on the shore to address problems that they wouldn't normally be able to address is it's nice to see. There's no reason we should be leaving future money on the table for the problems we have today. Thank you.
Okay, for our candidates who have mastered the rotation that we're doing superbly, we are going to have more questions than we anticipated that we would have. And so we're just going to follow the rotation for the closing statements and then begin again with the rotation at the top of the page. So you'll know where your place is. Okay, so we are going to go to question number 7. What can the city of Cambridge do to help students improve their educational performance, especially with what's going on in the schools now?
Right there, we have to. And I thought about this. We have to get with the board of education to teach them about their future. Okay, general mathematics and all that, that's good, but what happens when a child turns 18 and he's out there in the world, especially still in Cambridge, because the average child that I know haven't been going to college. So we have to teach the kids about trades. We've just built the whole trade center at Cambridge South Dorchester. I learned a whole bunch of trades, fix computers, build houses. I learned everything through trades, and I'm doing okay. So we have to educate, and the way we have to go through the board, we have to help out with the Empowerment Center through their education programs and whatnot like that.
Thank you so much. Now from Ward 3, Jameson Harrington.
I also agree with the trade schools. That's something I wish I had looked into more when I was in school, but the opportunities just weren't there. And in this age of COVID, internet access, not everybody has it or can afford it. No child's education should suffer because they don't have access to the internet or a device to access their online classes. Something like municipal broadband, with like waivers for low-income families, that would be a lifesaver for many people. So those are just 2 thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Duane Farrow.
Not to sound redundant, but Gary and Jameson hit it, trades. I actually think Dorchester County, whether the numbers reflected or not, had a good educational system, maybe because I came through it. But to be honest, trades is what's working right now. All the education you could have once this COVID-19 hit, the people that were making money are the people with trades. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm right, I'm right. Activities for kids. When I was coming up, we had a lot of activities that we participated in, and I'm a firm believer in taking children out of their environment and letting them travel. Big shout to Lim Chester. He used to take kids all the time to the Bullets games for free, and it was just such a blessing to get outside of Cambridge. So yeah, the trades, I want to tap on that, piggyback, and travel and activities for the kids. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Now from Ward 1, we'll start with Tom Bradley.
Hi. Yes. Thank you. The kids, families, children, that's our future. I mean, I'm 50 years old, 30 years, 40 years, I won't even be here. So we got to invest in our future and our kids and our families. Let's do it.
Okay, thank you very much. And the final comment is from, Brian Roche is up next.
This is a complicated question that on the Economic Development Subcommittee had a study done, and what they decided is because the city has very little to do with education, it's a county responsibility. The best thing we can do is actually improve the quality of life in our city, which would in turn raise the values of accessible real estate in our city, put more money into both the city and the county coffers, and then honestly, strategically take that money that's being raised and put it back into the school system for the types of efforts that the rest of the candidates have mentioned. It's a multi-step process, but the first step is really to attract people that want to live in this city that don't have children, and then those taxes can be used to subsidize the kids, people that do have children, and to attract young families to move here and improve our school system. Thank you.
Sharon Smith is our final respondent from Ward 1.
Question again, please?
Sure. What can the city of Cambridge do to help students improve their educational performance, particularly relevant given what's going on?
Yes. I understand that being successful in school starts at a very early age. I think we need to have good, strong preschool programs and elementary school programs. And we need to start kids out on the right foot. I know that from time to time there are volunteer activities that people within the city can volunteer to help in the schools. And I know there's been listening to children read and things of that sort that we all don't, it doesn't matter if it's the county or the city that runs the schools, we all can volunteer to help kids be successful in school. And I think we should do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we have another question, and we're going to begin with Tom Bradley from Ward 1. And that question is, how can Cambridge attract the best qualified and experienced staff candidates?
Great question. How can Cambridge attract the best quality staff candidates? Well, I guess we'd have to offer some reasonable salaries, maybe a decent benefit package. I might actually have to do some more research on that one. Honestly, I don't want to sit up here and give you the wrong answer, but I mean, I guess good money would be a start.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to Brian Roche.
I would say that there was actually, this also relates to the Economic Development Study Group, who actually determined that a good percentage of people determine where they're going to work first based on where they want to live. It has a lot less to do with salary than you might think. So I think us continuing to focus on our comprehensive plan and to make this city a wonderful place to live is a longer term project, but it also will attract good candidates. But in the meantime, if people choose not to live here, then you have to incentivize them, and that would most likely be what Mr. Bradley said through benefits and or compensation type arrangements But we do have comparative advantages here, so emphasizing their strengths, and someone that wants to keep their boat at the marina or store a house in the West End, or basically live on the creek and have public access to the waterfront. Those are all very compelling things that people are moving here for currently. And if they're here, one other piece is attracting semi-retired individuals with skills that don't need the money and are very talented is another way to fill our positions.
Thank you so much. And Sharon Smith?
To attract the best talent and the best staff, we don't pay the best salaries here in Cambridge. So we kind of start behind the 8 ball with that. In addition to always checking our salary scales against surrounding communities, I think quality of life is a big issue. And these other topics that we've been talking about, like housing and economic development, help to create a quality of life in a community that people are going to want to live here, whether they work for the city or for a private employer. So I think it really has to do with all the other initiatives that we've talked about that help make Cambridge a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. And from Ward 3, we start with Duane Farrow.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a common sense answer to a common sense question. How can we attract better quality staff? First off, word of mouth is the best advertisement out there. We got trades and we have papers and we have the internet. My biggest issue with this is that I don't think as a town of Cambridge, we have to go outside of the state to find staff to bring into the state. We have enough qualified individuals here, not being discriminatory, that we can find talent here in Cambridge and qualified staff to work certain positions that we don't have to go outside the city or outside the county or outside the state for that much, where I know we've brought people in from outside the state where we could have actually just looked around our own backyard. So quality staff, word of mouth is the best thing. Somebody knows somebody that can work a position. Okay.
Thank you so much. And now Gary Gordy.
Like Duane said, word of mouth, promotion. Word of mouth, promotion. Promotion is the key to anything. Far as the quality staff, we have to be real with the people that we are. This is a tough one right here with him. This is a tough one, but we have to be open. We have to be honest, and salary is a key. But we don't have to go outside the state. We can do everything right here. I mean, it's 12, 13,000 people here in Dorchester County, and I'm quite sure it's quite a few of them qualified. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jameson, Harrington.
So for qualified staff, you've got to make Cambridge attractive. You got to make it a place people want to live and have a family. If you're going to retain qualified people here, they've got to want to stay here. If you're going to attract outside talent, you've got to make it somewhere that they want to move to. It's not always about salary. I mean, good schools, good housing, those are all important things for families and people looking for their careers. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here tonight, and looks like we have time for one more question. Unless we have questions coming in from the outside. Let's go with this one here, and we are going to start with Gary Gordy. You guys are doing a great job. Really?
The yo-yo right now.
How would you provide transparency during the budget process and allow public input, as is done in the county?
Well, I believe that the public should know everything. The reason why I think the public should know basically almost everything, because if I win Third Ward, the public of Third Ward is my boss, and I have to report to my boss. So if my boss don't know what's going on, that means I'm not doing something right. So that means to go for the budget or whatever else going on in the community or down at City Hall or zoning and planning or whatever like that. So I would like to make a let it be known and let them have their own opinion.
Thank you so much. Jameson, Harrington?
I think transparency is very important in government, especially local government. We're all taxpayers. We want to know what our money's going towards. As for developing a plan to make sure everyone is aware of where the money is going and to be sure it's used properly, I'd like to look at other towns and cities to see what they've done. I mean, why reinvent the wheel if someone else has already perfected it? So, thank you.
Thank you. And Duane Farrow?
Transparency on the budget, providing that information. My job as a third ward candidate would be to project the interests of my constituents to the council. So with that being said, once the budget comes through, it's my job to talk to the constituents and let them know what we're planning on doing and what their interests are and get their input on the budget before the budget is actually passed. How I would do that, you can have public forums. I'm a promoter by choice, so I can bring people together and talk this through. People that want to be interested, you can go to your local churches, you can go to your local community centers and talk it out with your constituents in your ward and say, look, this is what we're planning. Get your input in so I can put it forth to the council and we can come together collectively and get a budget passed. Thank you.
Thank you. And now from Ward 1, we'll start with Brian Roche.
Thank you. Perform a thorough tax and financial analysis. Reveal everything. No more hidden expenditures for things like elected officials receiving health care without the public knowing. In our new world of virtual meetings, voting, and remote engagement, we have to do a better job with making our public meetings available. If this means investing in technology like this to provide more seamless virtual meetings, Facebook Live interactions, and engagement in whatever form that is, so be it. But at the moment, there's vast room for vast improvement. Our functioning democracy and republic are built on civic engagement in whatever form that is. Smartphones and virtual interaction are here to stay. Once upon a time, a landline phone was a luxury. We should not be depending on checking a voicemail for public comment in a meeting. We can and we will do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon?
Thank you. Transparency in the budget process. Actually, the citizenry isn't currently taking advantage of what transparency there is. I have attended, there are work sessions every year when the new budget is being developed. They're open to the public. They're sessions that the council and the staff hold and discuss the upcoming budget. I've attended some of those and I've been the only person there. So I think that maybe people aren't being aware that there are those work sessions. A second thing that could be done to improve the transparency is that the format that the city government is currently using for the budgeting process is not very helpful in understanding what the money's actually being spent for. And I think that the budget should be related back to steps in the strategic plan, the initiatives that we have underway, so we can see what our money is going toward in terms of what it will achieve for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And finally, we have Tom Bradley.
Hi, great question. We'll ask that one. Transparency in the budget. Yeah, in the age we live in, I mean, you should be able to pull your phone up right now, Cambridge, Maryland budget, and see exactly what goes out. It's a business. What goes out, what comes in. As far as attending a work session, I mean, most of my fellow citizens, they get up, they go to work, they come home, they have families. They don't have time to go to these meetings. I mean, that's why I'm here today. But we need to be able to just somehow format it, Google it. I mean, why is it secret? I don't know. We're going to change that.
Okay. Now we are going to segue into the final portion of our program where our candidates give their closing remarks. I'd like to thank our candidates. We set up a very complex rotation system and they've mastered it beautifully. And they're all always ready to be the next person to speak. And so Sharon Smith has the distinction of being the first person to give her closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Glenna. If you want to see real change in the way that the city council operates, then vote for me. I have the experience and the knowledge to help the city change the way that the city council operates, and I think I can accomplish improvements there if you vote for me. Having a wish list of 24 projects that you'd like to accomplish isn't the way to do that. Everyone has a list of ideas. Everybody's got good ideas about improvements that we can make. The hard part is setting the priorities and deciding where to put our limited resources and what to tackle first and where do we get the biggest bang for our buck. That's the reason why we need to have a shared vision and why the council needs to have a shared vision and know where they're trying to lead the city to, because that basic understanding helps you set priorities and decide where to put resources. I think the current city council is managing operations. They're not leading the city. I think that shortly after the October election, the new city council and the mayor should start having regular meetings and start developing a vision for the city, make sure that we have common ground on how we see things, decide what the vision for the city should be and where we should go in the future. And that'll help us set priorities. That'll help us know where to put resources. That way we can hit the ground running in January if we start working on it in October. You can read more about my ideas at my website, SharonSmithForWard1.com. I hope I have your vote in October. Thank you.
Okay, and now I believe it's Tom Bradley from Ward 1.
First of all, I want to thank Glenna and WHCP, everybody for tuning in and great questions, great fellowship. In closing, I believe I could be a positive force. I have the energy. I have the belief. I'm asking for your vote. It's important. This may be one of the most important elections that the city of Cambridge has experienced. I bring integrity. I do have a self-serving purpose. And that is when I, sit down at night, I think of my children, your children, and their future and our future. Vote Tom Bradley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last candidate from Ward 1 is Brian Roche.
Thank you. I just wanted to say in closing that the comprehensive plan is something that's long overdue. Every decision the council makes should be filtered through this legally adopted plan. The council serves at the pleasure of the citizens, and this plan is what they said they wanted their city to look like. It's who watches the watchman. I've developed a decision-making checklist that makes this easy. The public gains confidence in their elected officials, knowing that they are held to a higher standard and are always acting in the best interest of the community. Comparative economic advantages. Not my idea, but Cambridge has an unmatched and abundant supply of groundwater and is a prime location that cannot be matched in the mid-Atlantic. Specifically, we should continue to embrace oyster aquaculture, farming, hemp, tourism around Harriet Tubman. We should also embrace our unique history reflected in the redevelopment of the packing house and Sailwinds. The packing house was our center of industry and Sailwinds was our bustling seaport. Our city has a unique story built on oysters, farming, civil rights, canning, and seafood. Why would we expect our city to be rebuilt on anything but the reinvention of these things in the modern economy? Over the last 15 years, I've had success in accomplishing a number of the goals in our citizen-driven plans, and I've been a citizen advocate. I've served on boards and with nonprofits. I've proven that I am capable, and I'm now prepared to take the next step, which is to be elected to city leadership. Go to my website, togetherwethrive.cambridge.com for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Jameson Harrington.
Just want to say it was an honor to be up here and to hear everyone else's wonderful ideas tonight. I want to thank you, everyone listening at home. I may not have the answer for every problem, but it doesn't mean I won't listen and won't find a way to solve it. We all want what's best for Cambridge and, most importantly, the people that live here. So vote for me, Jameson Harrington, and more importantly, just vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Duane Farrow.
Closing remarks. Duane Farrow, I need your vote. Why vote for Duane Farrow? Because I'm here to bring the groove back to Groove City. A lot of y'all know how that feels in your heart. We got a lot of qualified candidates and a lot of intelligent people that are running for office here. A lot of people I love to work with. Cambridge is gonna have money. We're not broke. We collect these property taxes. We have a budget to work with. It's just according to how you want to spend that money. I'm going to spend that money the right way, the way you want to spend it, the way you want Cambridge to look. I'm here not just for Ward 3, but for the city of Cambridge. I'm here for my Ward 3 constituents, but I'm here for the city of Cambridge to work and push this city forward. So if you got to look in your heart and think with your brain who's the best candidate that you need to vote for the candidate with the best heart. I'm not even going to say it's me. You got plenty of candidates here, and I think all of them got great hearts. But I know if I'm elected, I'm going to work hard for you. I'm going to spend this money correctly because we're not broke. We got money. It's just all in how we spend it and how we want to spend it. And it's your input from the constituents of Cambridge to get to myself and your ward leader so we can come together collectively and move Cambridge where it needs to be. If you need to get in touch with me, 410-515-1749. That is my number. You can call me directly and I can answer any questions that didn't get answered today. Vote Duane Farrow. Bring the groove back to Groove City. DJ, get down. Y'all that don't know.
Thank you very much. And our final candidate from Ward 3 is Gary Gordy.
All right. As we say, I'm gonna keep it 100. I don't know everything. Some people might think I know everything, but I don't know everything. I study a lot about a lot of things. But one thing I do know is about Ward 3. I know everything about Ward 3, just about. Like I said, I've been in Ward 3 for 45 years. And my goal is to uplift, teach our ward, mainly the kids. That's where I have to start at. The reason why I say that, the ones that's in Ward 3, y'all know my my past and my ups, my downs, which we all had. But I learned, and my spirituality is the utmost. So the question is, what would I do? What would I want, and all that type of stuff for Ward 3? I want to invest. I want to invest in our kids. This is where it's going to start. Because if I had somebody invest in me when I was a child, and I'm talking about to show me the route to go, I've probably been a millionaire right now. But it took me through ups and downs to get where I'm at today. And I, with no guidance, studying on my own, watching YouTube, reading encyclopedias ever since I was 8, trying to study the dictionary, all that type of stuff. I was a computer geek. I had my own computer repair business, as some of y'all know. So these are the trades that I would like to teach the kids. I would like to see our kids learn trades. I would like to see our kids to learn about investments, stocks, all this type of stuff. So when they get our age, they will already know. That's the main focus, is to build our community in Ward 3. Whatever the candidates win for Ward, the other wards, I'm with them too.
Thank you so much. To our audience, I would like to, our candidates have been so good about doing this rotation and jumping up and down and waiting their turn. I would really like all of the candidates from Ward 1 to stand where the camera can see you and where the audience can see the three people who are running from your ward. And then we'll do the same thing, Ward 3. And we've got, on the end, we've got Tom Bradley, we've got Sharon Smith, and we've got Mr. Roche, Brian Roche. So that's right. Thank you very much. And can the candidates from Ward 3 also come up? If you would go ahead and take your seats and, keep socially distant, so that our audience can see the three candidates that you will be voting for from Ward 3. And they're socially distant. Mr. Gordy, yes. And we've got Duane Farrow and we've got Jameson Harrison here on the end. Thank you very much. And our candidates were really marvelous. And thank you so much for your participation in our forum this evening. You are carrying on a fine tradition of the League of Women Voters, who has gone kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Now, for our citizens, it's your job to vote for our city council representative. Residents will be receiving their ballots in the mail sometime after September 17th. And they can return their ballots. These are live ballots by mail. No stamp is needed to mail your ballot. Or you can also vote in person on October 17th. The election polling will take place at Chesapeake College, which is at 418 Race Street. Next week at this time, we will have another field of candidates. Tonight, for example, we were supposed to have had Ward 4 with Dave Cannon and Spuddy Cephas. But one of our candidates was ill and did not want to expose us to whatever he might have, and we have our fingers crossed for him. So we might be able to move him and his opponent to next week on the 23rd. We will also be having the candidates for mayor on the 23rd. And so I'd like to send out also a special thank you to our question analyst, Nancy Hastings, who's been my sidekick on this gig. She's from the League of Women Voters. And I appreciate all the hardworking women of the League of Women Voters who are behind this, who made this possible. Special thanks goes out to Julian Jackson, who's manning the cameras and is WHCP's technical director for our show. And WHCP, as the sponsor of the Cambridge Community Conversations, we would like to make a special thank you to them for the yeoman work that they have done in educating our citizenry, not only about the elections, but there have been sessions with the police chief, with the health department about COVID. They really do a wonderful job of keeping this community informed. This broadcast is going to air again at 1:00 p.m. on WHCP at 101.5 FM this coming Sunday, and it will be permanently housed on WHCP's Facebook and YouTube channels. I'm Glenna Heckathorn, and I'd like to thank you for joining us and to wish you a good night.